Welcome to Milpitas Unified School District. This is my second home. I started here as a teacher intern at our middle school and alternative high school, and I've also been a principal of an elementary school here in our district, assistant principal. I've been a teacher on special assignment working with kids who are just looking for ways to be engaged in school in ways that we don't expect, aka at promise students and our students who sometimes found themselves engaged with law enforcement. I also worked in various leadership positions with HR, and this is my 9th year leading this fantastic Milpitas Unified School District team alongside our governance board team. So I'm very excited to have you here in our home, in our Milpitas Unified School District Innovation Campus, which I'll be talking about a little later. I want to give you a little context about Milpitas. Milpitas is a place that was founded on a real desire to assure that everyone has a place. In 1954, Sunny Hills neighborhood was founded as the first planned integrated neighborhood in the United States, and Ben Gross was one of the primary leaders and became the first mayor of Milpitas who was of African ancestry and the first mayor of African ancestry in the state of California to lead a city that was predominantly white. And so it is this tradition, this heritage that we embody here in Milpitas Unified as we move forward with our first strategic goal, which is to build a culture of we. And we are aimed at global learning for all. I like to describe Milpitas as a place that's generations deep with arms wide open. We have over 54 different languages spoken in our city, in our district, and it's been that way long before I started and continues to be that way as we go forward into the future. As I go through my presentation, I'm going to be linking things to our strategic goals, and most importantly, I'm going to be linking it to what do we need to consider as we're looking at education for the future. One of those things is in America, we're pretty traditionally centric on one language, English, and that, as we know, totally negates the people who are in our schools, the people who are in our homes, in our cities and our towns. So we have the Randall World Languages School, and last year we added our third language, Mandarin, so it's Spanish, Mandarin, and English. And this is our co-principal, Claudia Cadenas, with one of our learners. In Milpitas, I refer to all of our MUSD team members as educators. We are also all learners, and in particular, we have our learners who are oftentimes in the seats that we are here for to serve. Some information about MUSD by the numbers is behind me. There is a person who talks about outstanding equity, and his name is Mr. Kin. I'm forgetting his last name at the moment, but he questions why is it that we always refer, when we're introducing our school districts, introducing where we come from, we're always referring to the numbers about how many kids we have who are identified as low socioeconomic, how many kids are identified as learners, instead of identifying our learners for the individuals that they have. And so I'd like to share with you some of the data about the great things that our kids, our learners do in Milpitas Unified, about our learning environments and where we stand when you compare us to other similar schools. We do have challenges, as does the nation, with chronic absenteeism. Our average daily attendance before COVID was around 97%. And then after COVID, it went down to about just shy of 95%. So last year, one of our big goals was to increase average daily attendance back to 97%. We were able to move the needle about a half percentage point, and you can see that reflected in the percentage of chronic absenteeism rate that has gone down last year as compared to 22-23. But why do we have chronic absenteeism? It is a total context of learners not feeling engaged, families no longer being engaged in education in traditional ways, our drive is to figure out how do we re-engage the family as partners in learning. These are our 2 essential, hairy, audacious goals this year: to build a system where not only do we continue to increase our average daily attendance, but also we increase success outcomes for our learners of African ancestry and Latinx by 10%. So doing some different things in our district that engages people, engages the community, wraps itself around, is what I have pictured here. In the upper left corner is our career day, which with these 3 young gentlemen was almost completely student organized at Calaveras Hills High School, which is our model continuation high school. And then in the bottom corner, we have our Milpitas Elementary Olympics, which our senior board member sitting behind you, Mr. Chris Norwood, experienced when he was a young learner in our school district. And when he became a board member, wanted to bring it back. And so we've now had it back in play for about 5 years. It engages all 10 of our elementary schools and the community. It engages high school learners and middle school learners as volunteers. All of these things add up to building a sense of identity within school and an engagement with learning in a different way. We were talking back there earlier with Kathleen about Imagine Co. and about the alpha generation, and the alpha generation really being tied to social media, to digital devices, and while they're super creative, not necessarily knowing how to interact with people face to face. These kinds of things provide that opportunity for face-to-face interaction. These are our 5 strategic goals. I have the first one, build a culture of we, highlighted, as well as a third one, which is how do you build pathways for learners that lead them to career, because college is not the end game. It's only a way on a student's life journey. And it is not the only way to get to where a student wants to be in their life journey. It's merely one of the different paths. And then the 5th goal that I have highlighted is how do we build healthy, creative learning environments? And you're sitting in one of them. MUSD beyond the numbers. So who is MUSD? What is the culture of we? The culture of we is about 3 primary things. And in 2019, we had a challenge where one of our educators came to school wearing blackface on Halloween. That prompted us to have our very first, every single MUSD team member, all team professional learning day, which we did in January of 2020. And at that day, we committed to assuring that our learners see themselves in what they learn, that we continue to check our own bias, we continue to be open to learning more about who we are and especially who our learners are, and that we strive to assure that if there is something that we hear that is not right, we speak up. So in our culture of we, that translates to learners have voice. The top picture is our 3 current student board member reps. And also that learners belong no matter what, that they see that they belong. And that's what we want for our team members too, is we want them to know that they have voice. We may not always agree, but we're always willing to listen to each other, and we're always willing and actually desiring to co-create what happens in this learning environment. And then the third is learners see themselves in what they learn. I really love this mural. It was co-created with learners, and I think you were principal at the time. This is Letty Villa Gascon. She is the executive director of Discover Charter Schools. And we had the fortune of having Letty here at Rancho Milpitas Middle School as our principal for a good number of years. Take a look at this. In 2018, 2019, when Trustee Norwood and I began talking with our community about what would a second high school campus look like, what is how could we possibly serve close to 3,000 learners in a place that was only going to be designed for 500 learners to be in a seat at a time. We were talking about things like this, and it seemed really foreign. But in 2020, COVID happened. So I'm wondering, as you're looking at the Internet of Things and the Industrial Revolution 4.0, I'm wondering, does it all seem that strange and foreign to you now as it might have only 4 years ago? Probably not, because I'm sure that almost all of you had to have a tele-doctor appointment at some point. You've probably experienced a robot in some form, maybe at the grocery store, and you all probably have something at home that is somehow connected to the Internet of Things, whether it's your Ring device, your Google or Alexis, something. We experience all this all the time now. And it's become even more accelerated as we're talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. So when we go back to what is it that our students need and how are we going to be preparing them for the future, we need to embrace what is possible for us. And just to give us some more data on why, this is data that I pulled in 2020 from sources like the World Economic Forum. And it shows us that by 2030, we need to assure that we have learners who are capable of working in careers where tech is a driver, as well as where they're looking at different ways of supporting people, because we're becoming even more so a people economy. Earlier at the table where we were talking about the the nines and AI, Mr. Ben Forbear, thank you. Mr. Ben Forbear and I were talking about how do we take the human part of AI, the human part to use AI for what it can do. And he said that when he was working at a phone company and he had to do analyzing of different phone records, he had to go through records where he had identified different phone numbers by hand. But now that can be done by a computer. And I was like, holy cow. Or as our chief innovator, Mr. Woolman, likes to say, holy cats. AI is something that we can use similar to what a computer does as far as analyzing a whole bunch of phone numbers and pulling up matches. Where that was something that was done by hand, it's now a computer generated. It seems like, oh, that's great. That just makes my job easier. Well, the same with artificial intelligence. That's the hurdle that we need. People that we work with, our parents that we serve, our families that we serve, we need them to see that artificial intelligence and machine learning is something that we must prepare our learners for, because it is simply a way for them to be able to augment their work so they could put more of the human into it. And this building, MUSD Innovation Campus, one of our motivators was to assure that our learners, particularly our learners who are underrepresented, the next time there's a huge challenge like COVID or a great recession or something else traumatic that happens that really shakes up the economy, that our learners are not part of the 49% of the service industry that lost jobs, but instead is part of the 2.5% of the tech industry or the medical industry that was seeking people to fill those vacant jobs. And some more data that I just pulled from this summer is that here, just in Silicon Valley, there are about 143 AI jobs for every 100,000 residents in San Jose. And that really is what's one thing that's contributing to the upside down aspect that we have around people finding places to live that are affordable. You see the bottom data point shows that in Silicon Valley, it's 3.3 jobs per housing unit, but a balanced ratio is 1.4 jobs per unit. So again, another imperative as to why we need to do education in a different way that incorporates the industry of technology. And over here in the corner, I want to point out our problem-based learning that we have at Senate Elementary School, which is a vertical slice of grades 3 through 6 working together. And here they're looking at designing ADUs. And that actually, if you look at virtual design construction or computer-aided design, that is a way that we can assure that our learners know that there's more than just working at Google, Facebook, and the other things. That there are things like construction management, which really struck me. A little anecdote is when I first became superintendent in 2016, our mayor at the time had a MUSD alumni gathering, and I was sitting at a table with 3 of my students who had graduated in 2007 from college, and one of them said to me, "Mrs. Jordan, why is it that we were told we had to go to college, and that was the only thing that we were all aiming for?" And the other 2 said, "Yeah, because when we finished college, there were no jobs." And all 3 of them were in construction management, and all 3 of them shared with me that they were having such a hard time trying to find people to go into that industry. So MUSD Innovation Campus, MUSD Innovation is about how do we build pathways to career, how do we expose our learners from the time they're preschoolers all the way through adults, because we also serve adults here. How do we provide them those experiences so they can see where their skills, their interests, their passions might lead them to a career? So here in Milpitas, we're about creating opportunity. To my left, we have one of our adult school teachers. To my right, we have an example of how learning is not just about using digital devices that we're focused on. We're also focused on how do we incorporate creativity, artistic design, and then how do we do self-expression in different ways. These are 3 of our alumni who I'm very proud of, as we gave them different experiences throughout their, or they found or created different learning experiences throughout their careers here in MUSD. They are now making their way in their adult lives. Daniel Hody came to us a little later in his education career. He came from another school district, wasn't doing well, wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He came to Calaveras Hills High School. There he got leadership experiences being on the LCAP committee. He also was really into designing things, and his principal worked hard and got him an internship at View, which is a company that makes smart glass. And he had an experience there in HR. And then seeing that he could do things, he left our school district with this great desire to make a difference in the world. And so, as you can see, he has all these different entrepreneurial things that he has been employed in. Then over here we have Nyla Chote. She was our Black Student Union leader at the time of George Floyd's death. This young leader organized a march of 1,000 people through the city of Milpitas to stand up for unity in our community. She is currently at Spelman, where she's in her junior year. She's had an internship at Nuveen doing finance and investment. And she is the owner of a nonprofit called My Roots Are Rich. And then we have Chloe Wing. Chloe Wing, as she'll tell you, stereotypically her parents, she said, were pushing her towards medicine or law degree. But then in 9th grade, she checked out this thing called the Robotics Club, and she was the only girl there, and it was only about 12 people. But she really got excited about robotics, and she got excited about software and engineering. And so she told her parents, I'm not going to be a doctor, I'm not going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a software engineer. And I really like this robotics stuff. And her parents, who I've met, they're like, well, I don't know, but okay. And she has graduated from UC Berkeley. She's working at Microsoft as an intern. She comes back to our Digital Business Academy to mentor other young people. And while she was here in Milpitas High School, she grew that 12-person robotics club to well over 100 with a large representation of young women. And they went out to the elementary and middle schools to spur a pipeline for robotics. That's what MUSD is about when we talk about building pathways and a culture of we. It's about how do we create learning experiences that are out of the box, that get you out of the traditional kind of paper pencil, give you real life experiences. These are this is our very first graduation class from our MUSD Middle College High School. This is Maria. Maria is now working as a journalist with the Milpitas Beat. And we have, I shared with you our world languages, Middle College High School. We have our dual enrollment program, which has over 200 learners enrolled at any one time. And it spans from our San Jose Community College extension over on Escuela Parkway over here to this, this place that we're sitting in. And we are focusing on inclusion programming for our learners who have special needs. And we're really trying to change that whole mindset about our learners who need special services, that they are a part of our general education. They're just like any other learner. They just need some additional services, like our other learners might need different services for wellness support or an internship. And then we have MUSD Educate Everywhere, which is one of our signatures that we developed in COVID and continue to do for our secondary learners who wish to have a different kind of learning that is more of an online with some in-person. I want to share with you just a little bit about how when you design and create learning with learners as co-designers, you create something really fantastic where learners are excited about getting out of bed and coming to school. So this is the San Jose Evergreen Community College District extension, which is on our land. It's a joint use project. And across the street is Milpitas High School. Next to it is Thomas Russell Middle School. And then on the corner is Pomeroy Elementary School. So literally, students could be on Escuela their entire school up to age grade 14 for their whole career.
It is an extension of the community college, which means that you have access to the college resources as well as connections that might come as a result of it.
And then they have the Milpitas Promise, which usually helps you with the community college after you graduate as well. So if you have more classes that you want to take after, they help you pay for those.
You're more in control. So if you want to just explore future majors, explore future career paths, you have the chance here.
I had gone from like not being able to get out of bed, not being able to go to school, to getting up every day and like walking in super excited to start class.
Having a tighter community means you just simply have a better experience here. And I felt better coming to school. I didn't feel the dread of going to school. Like, I enjoy going to school now.
The exciting part of Milpitas Middle College High School is that students and staff collaborate to provide relevant and engaging curriculum. Students get to focus on what's important for them, and they get access to work-based learning, field trips, and a variety of guest speakers found in those students' pathways. If this sounds like something for you, come learn with us. The possibilities are endless.
So that's one example of how we're changing things up in Milpitas Unified. And this is the beginning, groundbreaking of where we are right now. And you can see from the smallest learners, preschool, we're introducing them to careers. This campus that you're on is about making sure that buildings are alive with learning possibilities 7 days a week, at least 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. And where we're sitting is the Career Development Center, and this first floor of these two sets of buildings is our adult school. The second floor is where all of our district services. At lunch, we could go out and take a look. But that is phase 2 that just opened in August. And that is where we have our Calaveras Hills High School Alternative Program. And then over to the right along Calaveras Boulevard is another set of buildings that are similar to this. And that's our Milpitas High School Extension Program. And so at the extension, we're focusing on building pathways around computer science, advanced manufacturing, and more, possibly esports. At our alternative campus, we just started a new 9th grade program, and we're focusing on making sure that learners know that they have impact in the world and change. And they too are looking at a possibility of doing esports as a pathway. Right behind this building, we're modernizing a building for our post-secondary skills life lab. Post-secondary is learners who are 18 to 22 who are still requiring to have some assistance in learning life skills and workability. And then also robotics lab is being completed there. So the thing about these buildings, with the mind shift that we're still running into that we really need to instill in people, is these spaces are shared spaces. It's an opportunity for intergenerational and intersectional kind of learning. So we will have learners from Calaveras Hills as well as learners from Milpitas High School that are using the same rooms. We will have after 3 o'clock, like in the advanced manufacturing pathway, adult learners who are learning alongside high school learners. So it's all about how do you create different ways of learning and bring in the partnerships with businesses, bring in partnerships with governance, nonprofit. So when phase 3 is completed, we'll have our workforce development center here as well. And all of this is thinking about, it's not just about going to college. It's about stackable credentials. It's about blockchain. Blockchain is similar to what you have on LinkedIn, where people ascertain or affirm that you have the skills that you have listed. Blockchain is similar to that, but it's a secure way of sharing with an employer your resume based on skills, certificates, diplomas, but it is not only about having a college degree. And I want to give you a little bit of what is the MHS extension about. But first I want to point out, this are our leaders from Classified School Employees Association, President, Vice President of our Milpitas Teachers Association. We work together through our association's roundtable to assure that the culture of we is something that is embedded in our district. And we've been talking about the culture of we since 2016-17. It did have challenges where people didn't always understand what it was, and it's still here. As a matter of fact, if you go out, when you go out there and take a look around, you're going to see on the side of the wall, MUSD, build a culture of we. So it is a generational mindset that really we think is what makes Milpitas stand out.